Hello again, everyone, and good evening to you. My name is Franklin. I'm one of the two co-founders of NordCal SCI, also commonly known as the Northern California Spinal Cord Injury Foundation. Welcome to tonight's final presentation of our Pilates sessions for the year. The topic is intermediate challenge level for floor and bed-based movement sequence. So once again, just thrilled to have Stephanie Comello, who's going to lead this session, but let me just get through our typical housekeeping items first. Number one, everyone has been muted, and that way we could eliminate any background distractions that can usually come as a result of people's mics being on. So that's why you're not hearing anyone talking. But if you do have any questions that you wish to ask Stephanie, her presentation is going to be about 45 minutes long. We'll have about 10 minutes or so at the end dedicated for a Q&A session. So simply feed your questions to me using the chat feature on your Zoom screen. Second thing is that, as always, these presentations are made possible from the Reeve Foundation, thanks to a generous grant that NordCal SCI received from them earlier this year. So we're grateful to them. And finally, as always, all of our sessions are recorded and made available to anyone who has registered for them. And so tomorrow morning, actually, in your inbox, you'll have not only tonight's presentation, but we're also going to send you Tuesday's presentation, which was more of an introduction, sort of an introductory level to this basically same topic. And I thought that you might benefit from seeing both sessions at once. So so rest assured, that way, if you need to jump off of tonight's presentation for any reason, you won't have to worry about missing out on anything. So without further ado, let me jump in there and introduce Stephanie to you. She has engaged in over 20 hours working directly with individuals with a spinal cord injury and other neurological disorders since 2011. Stephanie has a BS degree in exercise biology from University of California and was first introduced to Pilates in 2014 and quickly transitioned to this new model. In fact, she started the Pilates-based SCI recovery program in 2015 at the Absolute Center in Lafayette. She is a Pilates Method Alliance nationally certified Pilates teacher through Balanced Body, as well as an American Council on Exercise professional since 2018. Stephanie blends her formal education, Pilates, and other mindful movement modalities and neurological science to provide an intuitive, hands-on style of teaching focused on body reconnection. She is also the co-founder of Zebrafish Neuro, and along with her fellow co-founder, Theo St. Francis, they published earlier this year a 300-page book called From the Ground Up, a human-powered framework for spinal cord injury recovery. And I'm sure Stephanie is going to be talking about that book a little bit later on tonight. So without further ado, let me introduce Stephanie to you. And Stephanie, right off the bat, we had a quick question that I wanted to ask you. One person wanted to know, what is the bolster brand and size that you're using? So if you could just sort of knock that question out right away, that'll be great.
What did you say? The bolster?
Yeah.
Oh.
Or what size is it?
There's no brand on my one. Let's see. It's probably 2.5 feet long, diameter maybe a foot.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Sorry, I don't have it better.
No, that's good enough for now. Thanks, Stephanie.
It also depends on what your body size is too, probably.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Take it away.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thanks for coming with me on this journey the last 6 months or so. We've covered a lot of ground, figuratively, I guess, and then literally this week with movement as it pertains to SCI and rediscovering your movement in your own body, and then also the space around you. Today's presentation, as you guys know, is intermediate floor-based sequences. And so if you attended, I know that I see a few names here that attended on Tuesday. Bear with me if this feels challenging for you. Well, good, first of all, but also if it's too challenging, check out the presentation that I did on Tuesday, okay? Because that really takes you from the very foundations and what you need to be successful in tonight's sequencing. Okay, let's get to it. So to the goals for today are a little bit different than Tuesdays. So today we're going to be discovering what challenges the floor can offer. So a lot of times I get athletes that ask me, well, I don't have resistance bands or I don't have equipment at my home. How can I challenge my movement, especially in this kind of COVID quarantine stay at home era? And so I want us to unlock the potential of how challenging floor-based exercise can be. I want to also introduce the formula for creating programming for yourself. And also, if you participate today, I'm going to leave some time for reflection for you to take some notes and jot down some ideas to create a personalized floor-based practice that you can practice on your own or with a helper after tonight's presentation. So you'll leave here with an assignment, basically. Great. So first, I'm going to just touch on the motor development progression. I know Rachel Kahn did a little bit about this last month, I believe. She talked about the motor development progression, and basically the motor development progression is the progression that us humans go through for the first 2 years of our lives when we're first learning how to move our bodies and explore the space around us. And I really use the motor development progression as a map for myself and a guide when I'm facilitating sessions, both within a single session and then also sessions over time, so periods of months and years. The reason why I love the motor development progression is because it increases the demands for stability as you work your way, I guess, on this list down the progression, but up the progression. So just to clarify for anyone that's new to these terms, supine just means laying on your back. It's just the anatomical term for laying on your back. Prone is laying on your stomach. That's just the anatomical term for laying on your stomach. Seated. Quadruped, meaning like quad 4 pedal base of support, so hands and knees basically. Kneeling, split kneeling, I also call split kneeling the proposal stance, and then standing. So that's the basic idea of the motor development progression, and again, the map that I use when formulating a sequence. Let's just see what that looks like in an SCI athlete body. So the next couple pictures are of my business partner, Theo. He has a cervical level injury. So supine can be anything on your back. It can also doesn't have to be just the upper torso. So drawing the legs into the picture as well. You can think of supine as anything that a baby is doing, maybe while you're changing its diapers, it's exploring its legs, it's exploring its hands, it's exploring its feet. And then moving into prone is anything on your stomach. Tummy time is another way that we describe it. And that is, just the basics of being able to lift your head off the floor while laying down, or it could be fully propped up on your elbows. You could probably maybe argue that even a plank would be prone. Maybe that's more hands and knees, but that's kind of that transition there. Side lying, anything laying on your side. We could also argue that maybe something like this propped up on your elbow is in that side lying category, and we're going to be going through some of these tonight as well. Seated is a little bit more obvious. On the floor, it's usually with your legs crossed or out in front of you, or maybe even casted off to the side. So we'll explore some seated options for us tonight. Quadruped, hands and knees, as I said, pretty self-explanatory. You can get creative in quadruped, but there's the standard. Kneeling can be anything from low kneeling, where you're sitting back on a pillow, or high kneeling where the hips are lifted and you're kind of more in this high kneeling, tall kneeling with the hips extended forward. Then we can get into this split kneel, and this photo, I apologize, is not an SCI athlete. I got this off of Google, but I just didn't have a very clean picture for tonight. So I just wanted to show what the shape of that is. And then from there, going into standing, either supported with equipment or freestanding. So you can see, if I went backwards, how as you become more upright, so in supine, really you're working on the front side of the body to curl yourself off the floor. In prone, you're working on the back side of the body to lift yourself off the floor. In side lying, you're working on the underside of your body to lift off the floor. And then by the time you get into seated, you've then created and connected all the dots around the trunk. You've worked on the front side, the back side, and then also the sides of your body so that you have this stability that can create this upright column. And so that's the great thing about the motor development progression, is that it increases the demands for stability as you become more upright, which is the argument for working in the progression as it's laid out and not jumping around from laying on your back to standing, back to kneeling, down to prone, working in the progression as it was developed in your body as an infant. So we talked about the positions in the motor development progression, but what I find even more fascinating is the transitions between positions. So how would we get from point A to point B, for example, in a fluid and smooth manner? And the positions are great, and the exercises, within each position are great, and they're functional to some capacity, but I really feel like the functionality of floor-based movement comes into play when you're discovering different ways to move your body through the positions and in between positions. So the real exercises, I always like to say, are the transitions between the exercises, and that's what we're going to explore tonight. So transitions would look something like supine to prone to side, aka rolling, side lying to seated. We started to have that inkling of an idea on Tuesday. Seated to quadruped. How would you transition from a seated to quadruped? You're looking at your phone and then you decide you want to crawl over and grab something over on the other side of the room. Quadruped to kneeling. You're traveling somewhere, crawling somewhere, and then you want to take a break and sit back. And how would you transition to that upright kneeling position? And I want to emphasize tonight too that there are more than one way. There is more than one way to skin a cat. And although I'm going to show maybe one or two ways to transition between positions, this is really an invitation to have you explore the many and infinite ways you can transition from one position to the next. And it's going to be very variable depending on you and your body and your proportions and your strengths. And even if you have joint issues or something like that prevents you from doing something in one way, there's always another way to do it. And so again, I encourage you to take this opportunity to explore that. Going back to why I use the sequence in this particular order, as I've been saying, the stability demands increase as you move through the progression. The skills and the strengths of the more advanced positions are dependent on the skills and strengths learned in the previous positions. So again, skipping forward, you can do it, but you're not going to do it to your fullest potential if you don't have the foundations done before that. Going through the motor development progression takes you through a physical and metaphorical journey to uprightness. I'll leave it at that. And then it's a built-in sequence for integration. So Franklin and I have talked about how when we're doing these presentations, a lot of times people are feeling stuck. I don't know where to start, or I don't know how to progress myself. If you look at the motor development progression, that's literally your map through. And then emphasizing transitions is how you go from one to the next. So I didn't make this up. You can also easily remember it or visualize it if you have children and their journey to learning how to move and stand and things like that. So I encourage you, again, to use this as a map and a guide for you to see how to progress yourself forward and see where your journey is going. And then, as I said, the functional transitions I find are the most fascinating part of this whole thing. I have my kids, my friends who all have kids now, always text me videos of their kids. Oh, my baby's starting to scoot. What does this mean? And yeah, I don't have kids myself, but that's how I nerd out with that. And then I wanted to address a few questions that I always come up with these webinars. So I'm just going to say them out front. And then if they come up later, I'll just remind you. So what's the difference between doing these exercises on the floor of the carpet versus a yoga or gym mat versus your bed? Okay. First of all, I think most important is accessibility. If you are unable to get on the floor right now and the bed is what you got, like number one, like let's just use what you got, like use the bed. Let's do it. If you are able to get on the floor, I encourage that. You also want to consider the squishiness of the surface that you're working on. If the mattress, for example, is too squishy, when you're working to push off of that surface to maybe roll over, you guys know, like a really squishy mattress is hard to roll over. So you lose some of the power and push off when you're on a squishy surface. That also applies to yoga or gym mats that are too squishy. So I encourage a firmer surface. Stickiness is also a factor. A lot of times the yoga mats are really sticky, and so you kind of like, you're trying to slide your elbow underneath you and you get stuck on the stickiness. That can be a hindrance, but then also sometimes if it's too slick or slippery, you also won't get that leverage and that push off. So finding the right balance of stickiness. And then the surface area and the amount of space available to you is really important. When you're on a bed or a table, that's it's going to dictate your kinesphere, as we talked about on Tuesday, the amount of area that you're able to move and explore in. And so making sure that you have a large enough surface area to move around in safely without fear of falling off or being too close to the edge. With that being said, each environment, the floor, the yoga gym mat, and a bed, each offers a different experience. And so the best environment is really dependent on what you need. Do you need softness because you're prone to skin breakdown or pressure sores? Then the bed is probably a better spot. Are you nervous about falling off something? Then you should probably go on the floor because you can't fall off on the floor. So picking I keep saying exploring, you got to just try a little bit of everything and see what suits you the best. And then also this big elephant in the room of ways to transfer onto the floor, right? I have had athletes that I work with, they figured out how to slither down from the couch or bed, whatever that means for you. But one of the ways that I suggest people try out is creating smaller increments of levels with blocks or ottomans or different pieces of furniture that allow you to kind of have this like stepping stone down to the floor and then also back up to the chair. So you can use these little stepping stones. Use 5 if you need to get, transfer up, transfer up, transfer up, transfer up, or transfer down. And this is Theo. This is how he does it. Obviously he would go down one more level to the floor, but this box is really nice. We found it's a good like medium height. And then I also have another box that's about half that size too. So if someone needs another level, we have that. All right. And that's all I'm going to say about transferring to the floor, because there's a lot of YouTube videos that you guys can search on that one. Okay, I want to get into the moving part. So just how to engage tonight. I love to see you guys moving throughout the sequences. So if you turn on your video, I can see you and give you feedback. If you're getting stuck, I can kind of say, move that elbow in closer, things like that. Of course, do what you can. Do what you can. Grab a helper if you need it. Observe and come back later to the recording with a helper. And then a question that we got on Tuesday, which I should have addressed maybe, and so I want to include it tonight, is if you don't have a helper or you want to figure out how to do some of these movements a little bit more on your own, figuring out a way to strap some resistance bands through a doorknob or an overhead, something or other, figuring out a way to suspend your limbs or your hips to support is a nice way to get some of this movement in on your own. And I know Theo's, I'm going to plug this, Theo's working on something on that aspect. And then take notes. You can dictate to Alexa or dictate to Helper, or just take some mental notes on what feels really great in your body, what feels really challenging, what feels, oh, I want to really nail this one. I want to work on this one, because we're going to come back to that at the end of the session. All right. So that was fast. And I know I talk really fast, but I want to make sure that we have time to do some of these floor movements. Ah, nice. Now I'm seeing everyone's faces. Nice. All right. So if you guys need to drop down to the floor or whatever surface you're working on, go ahead and get there. And we are going to start on our backs, actually, because again, that motor development progression, we want to work our way up with the stability demands. So go ahead and lay down on your back. And as I go through the exercises tonight, I'm going to show the option for kind of waist up movement. And then I'm also going to include options for leg integration as well. So if you want to or able to integrate the legs, you're going to have that. But there's going to be a little bit something for everyone. So go ahead and just lay yourself out on the mat and feel the ground and feel safe on the ground. And you can't fall off the ground, so this is a great place to be, and it's relaxing. And then we're going to go ahead and take a couple collarbone rolls, where you take the tips of the shoulders and roll them back down towards the floor, lifting the shoulders up and then rolling the shoulders down, lifting the shoulders up and rolling the shoulders down, just getting some movement in the scapulas and the front of the chest and letting ourselves sort of open up. And as you do that, you may feel yourself pressing down into the floor, which creates this arch in your spine. And then as the arms or the shoulders sort of come up and swoop up, maybe you press your back down into the floor. And then you push the shoulders down and you create this arch where the chest lifts off the floor. And then the shoulders come forward and you press in. And we're just going to work through that a few times. And again, this whole sequence tonight, everything that we do on the floor is all just about learning about what your body is capable of and what this floor is able to offer us, both in support and for challenge. So being really open-minded and discovering all those aspects. Good. We're going to do that one more time. Good, nice job. Bring your arms up towards past your ears, or some version of that, whatever that looks like for you. And stretch your body as if someone's pulling on your hands and someone's pulling on your feet. And notice how that might arch your spine off the mat or the floor. And then we're going to bring the arms down and nod your chin and press your back into the mat. So similar to what we did with our shoulders. Now, if you have an opportunity to bring the legs into the picture, it would be open up and stretch the body, arch off the floor, and then exhale, maybe pull one knee in and draw it in towards your chest. So if that's you, grab it if it's you. Open up, inhale, and exhale, and then you'll grab the other leg. Now, a couple months ago, I talked about this concept of pushing down to lift something else. And so whichever leg you are not lifting into your chest, you're pushing down into the floor to create the stability to draw the knee in towards the chest, all right? So we're gonna inhale, open the chest, exhale, draw in one, or maybe now you draw in both knees and then you bring it out. And I'm going to give you about 20 more seconds to explore something of this variety, where we make ourselves as big as possible and then making yourself as small as possible. Okay, whatever version that is for you, expansion and smallness. Yes, nice job. About one or two more, and I know not everyone's going to be working at the same pace. In fact, I think everyone's going to be working at a different pace. So a lot of the movements that I'll do tonight are going to be more time based for you to just explore on your own pacing here. And I'm going to just do one more. Good. And then return out. So right here, I'm gonna have you guys reach your left arm up towards the ceiling. This is gonna be our first transitional movement, our rolling experience. And I hope this doesn't bring PTSD from inpatient and outpatient days. All right, so we're gonna roll across the body, reaching towards something on the upward diagonal. Yes, and then return back down. We're gonna stay on the same side. Let's stay on the same side. So I'm reaching with my left hand. So I'm gonna be cueing all things with the left hand reaching. Now, as you're working your way through, push your right elbow down into the mat a little bit, or the floor, whatever you're using. Reach. Good. If you have access to those legs, your left heel is going to be pressing down into the floor, or your left thigh pressing down into the floor to give you that push off to reach. Okay. 2 more. Yes. And last one, push off to reach. Great. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to be reaching away from you guys just in the camera, but I think we all get it. So reaching across and up on the diagonal, I'm on my right arm. And then returning back in. Good. You can get really dramatic with this too. Play with the expression where you're reaching out for something, you grab what you desired, and then you pull it back in towards your heart. Reach out on the diagonal and pull it back in. Now, if you have access to your legs, push off the right heel to help you rotate. Nice. Reaching up and pulling down. Reaching up and pulling down. Whew. Good. If you guys have hardware in your spine, be mindful of these rotations. Do what feels right for your body. All right. And then bring it back down to your back. We're going to go into a little bit more of a full roll where you're going to end up on your side. I'm going to add in a little bit of the lower body integration if that's right for you. So right here, my left arm is going to reach up on the diagonal and my right leg is going to draw in. So you either pull it up with your hand or you move it up with your hip flexor and you roll onto your side. And then return back. You can slide the leg back or just continue on that one side if you'd like. I'm going to switch from right to left. My right arm goes across. Simultaneously or sometime close after, the left leg pulls up to help you roll a little further. And then you return back down. You can kick the leg out or stay on that one side, all right? So there's a couple options. Find something that is in your body here. Bending and reaching. Good. Don't forget about the push-off. That push-off is there. Who knew rolling could be so integrated, right? I love it. I get really stoked on rolling. I think I have probably like 10 or 20 different ways to roll from side to side. Yes, good. One more time. Good. Let's have you guys roll all the way over onto your side, whatever that looks like to you. Maybe facing the screen so you can still watch what we're going here. Yes, nice. You can make a pillow with your head. Great. Give you a couple seconds there to roll all the way over. Yeah. So then that's the transition, right? It's functional because we're going from on our back to on our side. You can make it all about the transition. All right, moving on here. We're gonna reach forward with that top arm, pinwheel the arm open and behind you. We did this one on Tuesday. Roll yourself onto your back and then spiral the arm forward again. Big circles or something that looks like this. Yes, nice. Now start to see if you can have the hip move with it, where the hip opens up intentionally and the hip closes forward. So there's a shift of the hip forward and back. Yeah. Yes, nice. One more time. Good. And then release. We did this one also on Tuesday. Turn the palm that's underneath your ear, turn that up towards the ceiling, and take your top thumb and land it in the palm. Okay, this next exercise you can either do with the legs bent or the legs straight. It's harder with the legs straight. Pick your poison. As you bring your thumb into your palm of the hand, push down through your bottom arm to see if you can float your bottom rib cage off the ground. So if you have a little bit of space there, and then press the ribs down, just kind of get lazy again. Push down and lift underneath. My mentor calls this the house of the mouse. And then push the ribs down and release. Push down into the floor to float the ribs. I got my baggy clothes, and then down and release. One more time, push down and float the ribs. This is the beginnings of your side plank. And then down. Good. This top hand is going to come in front. We did this a little bit on Tuesday. Again, you can see how Tuesday's foundations are coming into play here. Push down into the floor and start to lift yourself off the mat. And then slide back out long. This is where some slipperiness on that bottom side is nice. Push down and lift, and then return. Now, if you have access to the lower half of the body, we're gonna reach through the top leg, and that's gonna help you start to push yourself up a little bit more. We're gonna start transitioning to a side lying elbow prop, so maybe the elbow comes in all the way. And then we slide it back out. Reach and push, and then return. I know this one is tricky. This one is tricky. Push down and lift. Very nice, Sherry, good. Bring it down. We push up and lift, and let's have everyone get into this elbow prop here. You guys are stellar rock starring. All right, I'm just gonna bend my knees a little bit. Can you push down through that elbow, lift off the supporting arm up towards the ceiling? Lynn, we practiced this one the other day. Yes, and then replace the hand and go slouchy. Push down, lift the ribs, reach the arm, and then return. Get slouchy. Good. Push down, lift the ribs, open up, hold. Hold your stability here. Reach your arm forward without falling forward. And if that's a little bit too easy, see if you can actually rotate and reach and reach and reach without falling. Bring it back up and then slouch down. Push through, lift the ribs, open up. Maybe reach in a different direction, maybe on the diagonal this time. Reach as far as you can, explore that kinesphere. How far out can you manipulate that space? Bring it up and then slouch. Good, and it's different every time. Play with it, lift, open, reach. Maybe you make a whole circle with the arm. Maybe you change your eyes and then slouch. Yes, we'll do one more, just like that. Lift up, wave the arm around, give yourself some challenge, lean into it, open out, push through the ground. Nice job, and bring it in. Relax. Now, some of you may have clamshells on your PT exercises. I want you to try, here we go, we're gonna come down actually, let's come down. If clamshells are in your repertoire, let's grab a little clamshell. Something of that intention, something of that intention. Even if the movement doesn't manifest it, think about it. Now, if that feels a little too easy for you, come back up onto your elbow, nice and tall, clamshell from here. What is that like? Lynn's having nightmares from the other day. 2 more. Yeah, last one. Good. So a way to up level your clamshells, come up onto your elbow. All right. Okay, we're gonna go to the other side, but in order to get there, how do I want to transition? We're gonna come onto your stomach. Come onto your stomach, roll onto your stomach, send the legs out long. I'm assuming if you guys could be on your elbows in your sideline, because this is an intermediate class, we can be on our elbows pretty good in this prone position. Okay. When you're on your elbows, making sure that you're strong through your shoulders and not slumpy in your shoulders. Push down and lift your heart. Yeah, and then get slumpy. Push down and lift your heart. Squeeze your booty, reach your legs out behind you, and then slump. Yep, push through. Lift your belly button up if you can. Yeah, good, and then bring it down. One more time, push through and lift. Good. Can you shift into one elbow and reach one arm out without getting slumpy? Bring it back underneath you. Reinvest in the tall posture if you need to. Shift into the other side without getting slumpy, reach. And then bring it in. Slumpy is a real Pilates term. I'm kidding. Reach out. Good. Nice. And return. So you can kind of see what the themes are, right? It's like, okay, we're going to go through the motor development progression, and we're just going to transit, weight shift into one side of our body and reach. Really, that's what it is. Weight shifting and reaching. Nice. Good. One more time. Excellent. Nice work. From here, we're going to start to push our hips off the mat a little bit. See if you can push down on the elbows and start to pull your belly button or your hips or your waistline off the mat, and then bring yourself back down. If you have a lot of tone and it's hard to break that extensor tone, go ahead, keep practicing that. If it's hard to break that extensor tone, bring yourself up a little bit so you grind yourself into a little bit of hip flexion. That way it'll be a little bit easier to come off of your stomach. Okay, we're gonna go for about 10 more seconds, working on just starting to lift the hips off the mat. Just a couple inches. That's all I need. Yeah, nice, John. Good. Last one. Good. And then release. All right. I didn't forget about side lying on the other side, so we need to switch around to the other side. If you want to just roll to the other side away from the screen, you can. Otherwise, turn your body around some way or somehow move your camera so that you can still see me. But I'll narrate pretty well. So if you need to just, roll to the other side and away from me, no big deal. We're going to come down all the way so your head is resting on your arm and your knees can be either bent in or your legs can be straight out. It's a little harder with the legs straight out. Turn your bottom arm hand up towards the ceiling, and your free hand is going to come up, thumb into the palm of your other hand. Lift your ribs off the mat by pressing down into the limbs, and then release and let your ribs go slumpy. Now, just lifting your hand and balancing on your side is hard because there's nothing supporting you rolling front or back. So this, again, it increases the stability demands. You have to have front and back stability in order to balance on your side, which we practiced in both prone and on our stomach in supine. Yes. Good. One more time. This is called arrow. We bring the ribs up towards the ceiling. Good. And then down. Your free hand, we're going to place it in front of your chest or your stomach. See if you can push down through that arm and start to lift your torso up off the mat. You can push down through your bottom arm as well. And then sliding back out nice and slow. Push up. And then slide down. Push up. And slide down. When you're pushing up, think about lifting your ribs off of the mat first. I get really excited. I start yelling. Sorry, guys, if I'm really loud. And bring it back down. Pushing up. And then back down. Start to bring that elbow underneath you so that we're going into that side elbow prop. Yes. And then maybe come out of that. How's the transition in and out of that elbow prop? Transition in and out. Nice. One more time, meet me with that elbow prop. Good. Nice. Either with your hand in front of you or up towards the ceiling, your free hand. We're going to go slumpy in the shoulder and the rib. And then push and lift yourself nice and strong as if someone's pulling on your hands up overhead. Yes. Get the elbow and the rib slumpy. And then push and lift the body up. You got it. Get slumpy. Push and lift it up. Nice work. 2 more. Slumpy or working at your own pace. And last one, get slumpy and then push. Hold here. Can you reach forward and then back and get slumpy? Start exploring your space while holding all of that stability underneath you. The side bridge, the side plank here is the priority. And then this reaching through space becomes the distraction and the challenge, the dynamic challenge of holding yourself strong in your side body as you're reaching and extending and stretching and drawing. And I know this isn't exactly the same as we did the other side, but just some other perspective for it. And we're gonna just explore that for about 5 more seconds, 4 more seconds, 3, reinvest in that shoulder, 2, and 1, and then go slumpy. Nice. How we doing? Good? Awesome. We're gonna transition to a sit now. So we're transitioning all the way to a sit. I'm just gonna show you one way to do it, okay? Right here, you can slide your knees in here, push off the floor, and bring yourself into what's called a Z-sit. I know that was too easy stuff. Yeah, the Z-sit is where the legs are sort of casted off to the side. Cool. I know some of you are gonna take longer to get through that, but I'm gonna give you some time now to explore that a few times. Even this transition of just coming back down onto your elbows, trying to push through your bottom leg here to help you create abdominal draw, and then coming up this way. And if that's really easy for you, try not to use one of your hands. So we can come down, reach the arm out. Maybe there's a little tricep, lift through and come on up. Nice, you guys. Wow, do I have to make an advanced class now? Here we go. Press up, lift up. Good, excellent. We'll do that one more time. Dropping down. Lifting up and pushing. Nice. Good. And then come on back down. Here's the deal. We're gonna roll ourselves over onto your stomach, figure out how you're gonna make that transition, come into your side elbow prop on the other side. However you wanna make that transition. Maybe you're back to the camera, I'm not quite sure. Yes, we're gonna transition to elbow prop from here. Because we did the transition from side to seated on one side, now we have to do it on the other, even you out. So we're gonna come up into that elbow prop. Yep. Maybe draw your bottom leg in. Your other leg is sort of in that Z-sit pattern as well. Push up. Get that booty meat down on the floor on that side. Yes, I said booty meat. Yeah. Great. Go ahead and just practice and explore that transition for yourself. Again, some of you may need a little bit longer to get there, and that's fine. That's why we're here. You can also explore ways to up level that by not using one of your hands. Consider how you can push down through this bottom leg to create space, almost that bridge. Good. Nice. I'm gonna watch a few. Good. Now, John, try to make your head be the last thing that comes up. Okay? So almost like trail with your head. I know you can't see me, but trail with your head. Let your ribs come up first. There you go. So that was more from the hips then. Nice job. Okay, one more time. What time is it? I could do this all night. Here we go. We're almost there. Great. All right. I love this Z-sit. It's a good hip stretch. Let's meet ourselves here. If this doesn't feel right for you, for whatever reason, you can always grab some sort of pillow, and maybe a helper can help you get a pillow underneath your butt, and then that'll be less aggressive in your hips. And then, hey, you're almost in a kneeling position here, huh? Okay. All right. I like this position. We can do a lot from our hips here. You can wave your arms. See if you can side bend from side to side now. So keeping yourself in that position. Yeah. What if you could reach across? Reach across. Do you need to put your hands down? Without the hands, there's a lot more pressure that needs to go into the floor from your legs in order to keep you from, of course, falling over. Yeah, explore space. Do your weight training here, all that good stuff. Yeah, Sherry, nice. Good. All right. So if you guys are in your Z-sit here, and I'm just gonna say it, my legs are to my right, or I'm gonna mirror you guys. So legs are to the right. So if you're with me, you're with me. If not, it's just opposite cueing for you. Your left hand will come on the floor, and your right arm is gonna reach out, and you're gonna try to push off the hand to start lifting your hips up. And then the hips come down and you sit back. So this is an alternate transition, right? A transition to get into your quadruped-ish. You know, we always learn quadruped like, okay, we're gonna push back from here. That's not the only way to do it. That's not the only way to do it. Let's do something different. Reach and transition off. Think about pushing off of this arm, reaching with the other arm. Yes, awesome. You guys, this is like a dream come true. Nice work. Reaching open and back. Yeah, awesome. Now, some of you may be able to even slide the leg back a little bit. So when you come into your quadruped, you're gonna step forward with one leg, and then you'll be in hands and knees, maybe. Yeah. Now, I know pushing the leg back in order to sit back home is a little bit hard. So what you can do is you can crawl forward with one leg and then sit back. And then transition to quadruped again, crawl forward, and then sit back. And I know I'm going out of frame. Okay. Nice. Now at this point, if I've lost you, no worries. This is where you're headed. It's good to know where you're going. Do a couple more here, and then we're going to just do the other side. Whatever version you got, just to feel yourself finish in that quadruped position. Because what's great about quadruped is it sets you up for crawling. Crawling is locomotion. Locomotion feels good. Yeah. Great. Nice job. All right, we're going to switch to the other side. I'm going to show a way to switch to the other side that's different than we've done in the past. But if you want to just go with something we've done in the past, or you have your own method to do it, go for it. Otherwise, we're going to start to pull the legs through. Maybe sit in some sort of cross-legged position. And then we're going to lean over, and then we're going to pull it back and maybe push ourselves to find that Z-sit on the other side, something of that sort. Or something you make up on your own. That's the beauty of it, right? All right, so we haven't done this seated exploration on this side quite yet, so go ahead and just explore your space here, either with one hand on the floor or two hands up off the floor. Do some overhead movements, that's always nice. You can also, we didn't do this on the other side, but playing with some mobility, spine mobility here, so pushing your chest up and then letting yourself slump, pushing yourself up and extending back. Yeah, so much you could do here. Play catch with someone. This is a nice position for your hips, something you don't normally get. All right, shall we transition to quadruped? This is the beginning, it's just a reach. Then the reach becomes a little bit more of a lean into that front knee. And then it becomes a push off to start bringing the hips up. You got it? Press off. Press off. Good. You guys are so awesome. We are going to have an advanced class. Reach. Reach. Start to play with going full quadruped. Reach. Crawl the leg forward. Crawl the other leg forward and sit down. Tuck it in if you need to. Begin. Begin again. Start to locomote and then come home. Yeah, the journey is in the transition, remember. Let's do a couple more. I'm just watching you guys. Want to see what you come up with. Yes, good. Nice work. All right, we're gonna finish in full hands and knees. So however you want to transition into your hands and knees, let's see it. If you need help getting into hands and knees, find your way there. Nice. Now, a piece of advice for if you're working on hands and knees stuff, think about how you can sort of block yourself in. So maybe you do your hands and knees exercises between the couch and a coffee table. And so it's almost like you have, what are those things when you bowl? Bumper rails. It's almost like you have bumper rails. So if the hips start to fall one way, you got the couch. And if you start to fall the other way, you got the coffee table. All right. So right here, we're just going to do an around the world drill where the weight shifts into the right hand. The weight shifts into the left hand. The weight shifts into the left knee. See how far you can go back without falling all the way. And then over to the right knee. So you're visiting each quadrant and feeling the stability demands that happen when you put all of the load through one limb. Either in that upper body or the lower body. Let's switch the direction of your circle or your around the world. Sit back, come forward, come forward. Nice. Yeah. Good. What if you worked purely on the diagonal? So you went from left back quadrant to right front quadrant. Left back, right front, left back, right front. We talked about this in the webinar about a month ago. We talked about push-pull. So pushing through the knee as you pull with the arm and pushing off the arm as you pull with the hip flexor. Push, pull, push, pull, push, pull. Yes, let's visit the other diagonal. Sit back, diagonal forward, sit back, diagonal forward. Good, nice. Beautiful, last one. Cool. Now come down onto your elbows just for a second to give your wrists a break. I'm nice sometimes. Now here's the transition, right, Lynn? We come up and up, down and down, up and up, and down and down. Go ahead and work on the transition from elbows to hands. This requires some rotational strength to lift the shoulder up enough for a long enough period of time to bring the hand in. And then again, rotational on the other side across your back to help bring it up. Yeah. Good. Let's make sure you do both leads. So if you were leading with the right hand, give your other side an opportunity to be the lead. Good. Can you stabilize from the opposite leg and the opposite? Think about it. When you're here, this is almost like a side plank, right? We did this. This is the same strength here. Okay. Great. Awesome. Let's just finish with cat-cow from yoga. It's about all the yoga I know. Draw the tail underneath you. Look towards your thighs, round your spine. See if you can unravel and wave through. Extend your heart forward, shine a light through your chest. Eyes up, round the spine, draw up. And then extend out. I'm way over time, but I had fun. Draw under and extend. Just one more time. Draw up, round, 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 and extend. Nice work. This is the dismount. Here we go. Yes, safely. Nice job, you guys. All right, so some concluding thoughts here. Franklin, these will be quick, just like the other day. Just the concluding thoughts. All righty, so hopefully you guys, when you were going through that, you were experiencing things. I know that was so mega fast. So what I want you guys to do is think about one or two parts of that sequencing Hopefully you remember some of it. If not, you can go back through this program again on the recording. 1 or 2 parts that you can do relatively easy, no brainers. Collarbone rolls, those are probably pretty easy. 1 or 2 parts, well, you guys are still getting settled. I'll give you a second. 1 or 2 parts that were challenging but attainable, like, yeah, I could do this. I didn't need help with this one. It was hard and I felt it and it was interesting to me, but and I could do it. And then 1 or 2 parts that you accomplished, but just barely, or maybe you had a little bit more help than kind of you want to have. Yeah. So if you guys want to take a moment just to get those reflected. And Sherry, don't give away the secret on this next one. All right. And then pick a number between 10 and 30. Doesn't matter the number. Good, Carla. I see you thinking. Nice job. All right. So hopefully you have 3 things on your whatever, paper, text, dictation, and a number. So now you have your very own personalized floor sequence to work on. You have something you can easily do, something that's challenging, and something that you're working towards. Okay. And the number is how long you're going to do it for. So you're going to set a timer for whatever number you picked. You get yourself on your surface, your floor, your mat, your bed, whatever, and you work on those 3 things until your timer goes off. And if you do them twice, perfect. If you do them 50 times, perfect. But it's about committing for a certain amount of time and giving yourself that structure. And also, because I get this question a lot too, is, how many reps do I do this exercise for? It is about the reps, but it's more about giving yourself the space and the time and the environment for this discovery. Don't think of it as a checklist item, just checking down the list. You got to give yourself the time and the space to discover movement in your body. Another tactic for your floor sequencing is you just pick 2 positions, A to B, and how many different ways can I get from A to B? Set a timer for a certain amount of times and see what you can discover. Yeah. All right. That's all I have for tonight. This is my contact information, my email. You guys can email me if you have any questions. Follow us on Instagram, Zebrafish Neuro. We're active. We try to post at least once a day tips and things like that. As Franklin mentioned, we published a book in May. Was it May? From the ground up. And it was written by both myself, who's a trainer, movement trainer, obviously, and Theo St. Francis, who has a spinal cord injury himself. So it's a nice blend of perspectives on, his real life experiences going through this journey, and then also my experiences with working with a lot of different bodies. So it's on sale right now through Sunday. So if you guys have been thinking about it, make sure you grab it. Another thing I want to remind you guys is right now we have this thing called a virtual analysis. It's only $20. Basically, you submit a video, and then I look at your video and I give you feedback on what you can improve. And I actually, I give you some spreads from the book, some kind of homework exercises directly from the ground up. And actually one of the participants tonight is my sample. So if you guys want to check that out, it's on our website. I think that one's zebrafishneuro.com/video analysis or something like that, but you can find it in the resources. So yeah, I think it's time for Q&A. I hope we have enough time. Franklin, go for it. Shoot.
I'm trying to figure out who got a bigger workout out of tonight, you or the participants. You seem to be working really, really hard.
Really? That's Pilates, man.
Yeah.
It's a great workout.
All right, so we have 3 questions along the same sort of common theme, and it has to do with trunk stability and control. That when they get into a quadruped position, their trunk basically goes left and right. So they're basically what I'm hearing is that what are some of the solutions to establish better trunk stability?
Okay, so the key there is saying that your trunk goes left to right, left to right. That tells me that there needs to be more development on the left and right sides of your trunk. So I would regress it again, go backwards in the progression and work on your side lying, side planking, side elbow prop configuration there. That will isolate and focus some stability and strength on the left and right sides of your trunk. And then when you're in the quadruped position itself, make sure that you're pushing through the heel of your hands or your elbows really into the ground to activate your scapulas, your shoulder stabilizers. Long story short, your shoulder stabilizers cross in front of your body to the opposite hip to create the stability effect through what's called your spiral line. And I have a whole presentation on what that means. But if you can just think about armpits and the scapula stabilization of your shoulders, that will help you with your trunk stability quite a bit. It'll wrap you like a sausage casing. Yeah.
Okay. Next question. I'm having neck issues with side lifts, especially with moving the one arm around. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, like tightness on the side of the neck, I'm assuming. Yeah, I get that too. It's not abnormal. It's just that part, that entire side line of your body, it's called your lateral line, needs development. A lot of times, if you've had a neck injury, those muscles have changed either from atrophy, change of use, scarring, incisions from surgery. So strengthening your lateral parts of your neck is just as important as strengthening the lateral parts of your trunk. If that does create an issue where you're just so uncomfortable you don't want to deal with it, for example, you're here, instead of waving your arm around, just reach around and support your neck here and work on all of that in this position as well. I hope that answers your question.
Okay. Next question. When in the quadruped position, is it possible to raise one arm like we did and be successful if I'm at T8 to T10? It's really discouraging not seeing any improvement, or maybe my expectations are too high.
I don't have, I'm not going to disregard anything. Your level doesn't really, to me, your level doesn't really tell me much, because I know of people with all sorts of levels doing all sorts of things. Consider, instead of lifting the arm, the focus of lifting the arm, consider what the other 3 points of your body are doing to support that arm lift. It may not be that your arm is not strong. It's likely that your arm is really strong. It's just the other 3 points haven't figured out how to connect the dots to support that arm lift. That's kind of the best answer I can give you there.
Okay.
But send me a virtual analysis and we can take a look at it.
All right. Next question. What are the sort of differences between this movement-based approach of yours versus the typical physical therapy that is taught during rehab?
Okay. I'm not a physical therapist and I didn't go to PT school, so I can't truly know exactly what that curriculum is that they are taught to teach you. I only know through what SCI athletes have taught me. From my understanding, traditional PT gives you ways to use what you have to the best of your ability, versus my way of teaching is teaching you how to use what you have to access areas that you don't have a lot of access to then integrate the whole system to the best of your ability. So integration is big for me, even in areas that have, maybe have been written off by a traditional physical therapist. I incorporate all of that. I also work through fascial systems outside of the nervous system, which isn't sort of broadly accepted in the traditional PT sense quite yet. I think we're getting there, but they're not quite widely there. And then, yeah, I think just full body integration is my biggest thing. I don't know, maybe I don't know if anyone else has kind of their experience of, Lynn, I know she's worked with me, if she has anything she wants to put in the chat box and her experience of traditional PT versus working with me, but that's kind of my impression of it.
Okay, fair enough. Well, that's all the questions that we had tonight. I think you probably tired everyone to the point of not even being able to type anything.
Lynn's gonna see me tomorrow. She's gonna be too tired.
Right. She might cancel tomorrow's session. Well, so once again, thank you, Stephanie. And this is the last session of Stephanie for this year, and she and I have yet to have a sort of a serious discussion of what, if anything, she'll be able to do for us next year, because she is becoming increasingly busy and successful with expanding her personal practice. So we hope that she'll still have time to fit us in whenever possible, because she just exposed everyone to just a whole different way of looking at things when it comes to recovery. So thanks, Stephanie, for everything that you've done. Stephanie's done 7 sessions for us this year, one every month. And this month, she went all out and did 2 in 1 week. I'm not sure if that was a smart decision.
It was all good. They fed off each other. I think it paired well.
Yeah. Okay, everyone. So once again, tonight's session was recorded. I know between Tuesday and tonight's session, Stephanie shared a lot with you. So you'll have every opportunity to watch the recording again tomorrow when you wake up. It'll be in your inbox. And again, Stephanie has her contact information available also. So feel free to shoot her an email or take advantage of her sort of $20 consultation. It's just a steal for her to be able to give you that kind of time and assessment. So thanks, Stephanie, for everything that you've done for us in this year. Thanks, everyone, for your time tonight, and wish you all a good weekend and a good evening. Take care,
Thank you,
everyone.
Franklin. Bye, guys. Thanks
Okay,
for coming.
bye-bye.
Bye.